Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular October meeting of the Cranston City Plan Commission. First order of business, we have 4 sets of minutes to approve. First is the special meeting held on July 23rd, 2024. Are there any corrections, changes, or questions? Commissioner Frias.
Thank you, Chairman. I passed out copies of proposed revised minutes because the amount of people here, I'll go through this real quickly. I changed a couple of dates because I thought there were errors. I watched the video and what was actually stated. I elaborated in a couple of places as to my reasons as to why I did not like certain phraseology in the comprehensive plan. That's on page 2. Page 3, I provided an explanation as to what my edits were about, just providing greater detail. And page 4 was just, again, a little bit more detail based on what I recall and what I saw in the video. So those are my edits to that meeting.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Lanfear.
Just on the last page, I'm referred to as Catherine. It's Kathleen. And I would just ask, there are various other places in these minutes where names are either not spelled correctly or incorrect. So perhaps there could just be some proofreading of these before they are posted to, or spell check or find or something to ensure consistency. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, I'll accept a motion then to approve the minutes for July 23rd with the 2 corrections, a series of corrections from Commissioner Frias, and ensuring that Commissioner Lanfear's name is spelled correctly. Motion made by Commissioner Frias, seconded by Commissioner Mancini. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Those minutes are passed. Next, we come to the special meeting of August 6th, 2024. Commissioner Frias.
Again, I made some changes here in the minutes, just making it clear what Ms. Caldo was speaking about. On the first page, Alpine Estates, and then the second page, I provide more detail as to my reasons for problems in Chapter 11 and my suggested changes in Chapter 13 relating to land use. And I also wanted to indicate in the minutes that at that point I talked about making changes to the future land use map in relation to Alpine Estates. Again, I reviewed the video, and this is consistent with that and my recollection.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Frias. Any other changes? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of this special workshop.
As amended.
As amended, yes. Motion made by Commissioner Frias, seconded by Commissioner Lanfear. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those minutes are approved. Okay, next is the regular meeting held on August 6th, 2024.
I did not have any edits to this one.
Okay. Any other questions, changes? No. I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Commissioner Matus moves acceptance, seconded by Commissioner Exter. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And motion passes. And finally, we have the special meeting of August 29th, 2024. I was not at that meeting, so I won't be voting on this one. Are there any questions or changes to that one? Commissioner Frias?
Made some edits to this one. On the first page, I corrected the misspellings of people's names. Second page is a couple of clarifications and corrections. I was talking about the middle school, not a high school. On the third page, I included, I thought were key motions that were not included in the minutes, i.e. the motion to adopt the amendments. I corrected the vote. It was not 7-0, it was 7-1 on another amendment. And then I included a final amendment, the final motion to approve the comprehensive plan as amended. So I thought those were important amendments to include in the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Frias. Any other changes, Commissioner Lanfear?
On page 2, toward the end, last paragraph begin, Janice Cataldo should be Cataldo. And I'm not sure if I can find it, but as the public comments went on, there were comments by Sam Brusco. And it should have been Alhambra Drive. I'm not sure I have the right set here.
It's the third line.
Thank you. Sam Brusco, 11, it says Amber Circle. It should be Alhambra Circle.
And I had one change also on page 2, where the indent is indicated Chairman Smith invited members of the public. That would be Vice Chair Coop invited members of the public. Okay, with those change. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Mancini.
Just one more spelling error. Third paragraph, page 3 of this, it says Pippin Orchard, P-I-P-I-N, double P. Flat 35, lot 30,
Yep.
Pippin.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes with the changes indicated. Motion made by Commissioner Frias, seconded by Commissioner Lanfear. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the chair abstains because he was not here. Next order of business, appointment of administrative officer, planner technician Grace Brownell. Director Pizzullo.
Mr. Chairman, with all staff members who have to deal with administrative applications and recordings, Grace will need a vote of the commission to be able to handle those members like all the other members of the staff. So staff recommends making Grace an administrative officer of the commission.
Okay, I'll accept a motion. Commissioner Zadalis moves acceptance, seconded by Commissioner Matus. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And Ms. Brownell is now an administrative officer with all the authority that post has. Now, moving into older business, we have the Natick Solar LLC remand from the court. And I'd like to call on Solicitor Marcella to explain. We've never done this before, this process. So if you might be able to explain what the options are for the commission.
Correct. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Posted on the website was the decision of the Superior Court dated August 30th, 2024, which essentially reversed the decision of this board. And this board had denied the master plan approval of Natick Solar prior to this on a 5-3 vote. I won't get into the reasoning of the decision. The decision speaks for itself as far as the judge's reasons for reversing the decision. However, out of that decision came a court order, and let me just read it in the record. In accordance with the court's decision as rendered on August 30th, 2024, the court's August 30th, 2024 decision, the appellant's appeal is granted, and the Cranston Plating Board, October 16, 2023 decision affirming the Cranston Planning Board's June 28, 2023 decision denying the appellant's master plan remand application is reversed. So your decision is essentially your July 28, 2023 decision is reversed. Next sentence, the matter is hereby remanded to the Plan Commission for the purpose of granting the appellant's master plan application. And finally, final judgment may enter in favor of the appellants. So we're here tonight essentially to effectuate the court order on paragraph 2, which is the matter is remanded to the Planning Commission for the purpose of granting the master plan application. In my opinion, there's no, we have one charge, and that is to grant the master plan application pursuant to the court order. Any other legal mechanisms, whether it's an appeal by the city or appeal by the interveners or a joint appeal, is a matter for another day. Based upon that, I would ask for any questions prior to the planning board doing what they need to do.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from members of the commission? Commissioner Frias.
Assuming we make a motion to adopt master plan approval, we would say we adopting master plan approval pursuant to the Superior Court order.
Correct.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
Well, obviously our hands are tied. There really is only one course of action that is possible. So I will accept a motion to grant the appellant's master plan application per order of the Rhode Island Superior Court. Would that be the correct wording? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay, does anyone care to make that motion? Commissioner Zadelis. Okay, Commissioner Zadelis moves. Do we have a second? Yes.
Second, I just want it made clear that it is being done because the court has ordered us to do so, and pursuant to rule of law, that is what we are required to do. So with that preamble, I will second that.
Okay, the Commissioner Lanfear seconds. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the commission has satisfied the order of the court. Commissioner Lanfear.
I am not sure if this is the proper time to raise this, so you can certainly ask me to hold it if you believe that this isn't the correct time. At some point going forward, and hopefully perhaps at our next meeting, this may be a litigation matter, And it's something that I would like to discuss further for the commission as a whole with our legal counsel. It's not something we should do this evening, but I raise it because it's something that I would like added to next month's agenda in the event that we as a commission find it's not necessary to do so. We don't have to do that, but I want to be sure that it goes on the agenda so that we have that option if my fellow members of the commission feel that that's a good idea. to do.
And if the commission wants to, not a problem. It would be an executive session. Obviously, no, we'd have to docket it that way. And so be up to the commission. Only issue and is I don't know, we don't have a date yet for next, if it's going to be the 4th or the 6th. I may be unavailable on the 4th, but we can cross that bridge when we get here. I'll get here if I need to.
Okay, we don't actually need a vote on that. As chair, I can ask that it be included on the agenda for the
Correct, yeah.
November
for
meeting.
next-
So,
For an executive session.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, there was, while people are shuffling out, there was the request to continue one of the items, so we can announce that so that nobody has to stay here any longer.
Yes, anybody who is here for the public hearing on the 40 Meredith Drive item, matter will be continued to the November meeting. So there's no need to stay unless you want to. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear.
That's in next year's budget, giving me a microphone. You will not get a new notice because it was noticed for tonight and we're making the continuance in open session. So the notice for tonight is that it will be continued to, well, we need a date certain first. So you're gonna have to hold on. So you won't get a new mailing because the notice tonight in open session will give you the date. They do have to decide upon the date because the normal date that we would normally meet is election night or election day. So City Hall is closed. So with that said, I do not know. I'm sorry, I don't know the reason. It was on the applicant's request. Is that? Mr. Chair, is that correct? It's by the applicant.
It was requested by the applicant.
So
yes.
it was requested by the applicant. Normally, to be perfectly honest, a board will at least grant one, continuance if the applicant requests it, if their experts can't be here, et cetera. But if you please wait because we don't have a date yet certain, and you'll be able then to know what date it will be. Oh, yeah, we're gonna do it now.
Next item. Okay, so as we all just heard, the regular meeting date is not a practical one. And that leaves us with the necessity to vote on a new date for the regular November meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the
Yes.
reason why this is on the agenda, we had penciled in the 6th. This date is really not workable with staff. The regional conference for planners is the next day and there's traveling involved. So we felt that perhaps the Monday, the 4th at 6:30 would be a good replacement for that. It would not be in this building though. It would be at the William Hall Library at 6:30. So if that works, we can reschedule and
Hold on, Jason, can we use the whole library?
we can. I called them today.
No,
There was the handicapped accessible issue.
correct.
As far as I know, that was corrected, but maybe Justin can correct me. Justin, do you recall that issue, the handicapped issue at Hall, was that rectified?
I am not familiar. with what
I know they did the work at the stairs, that was the issue, so I didn't think that there was any issue because they knew that we were doing the public meeting and they're having other public meetings there as well, so I don't think that that's an issue. any longer.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so we did have a public meeting there maybe like 2 years ago. And there was a complaint regarding public access, accessibility because of the way you get into that bottom hall. I don't know if that has been rectified. I would advise to not have a meeting there until we know if it's allowable, especially with people in the audience when we're continuing something to a date certain. I haven't heard that it had been rectified. And I was involved with that initial complaint. But
Would it be possible to set the meeting for the main library on Saconaset Crossroad?
It's with the elections, it's problematic. It was problematic to get that space. I know exactly what Steve's talking about. I do recall them doing work there. It was about that ramp and something about the steepness of the ramp. I do recall them doing that work. But, you know, if we set it to the date and it doesn't work because of that, then we would have to then, I don't know, schedule them. I don't really know that. I thought that work had been done.
Mr. Chairman, these people kind of need to know the date and the
Yeah.
location, you know, so I mean, can we just do it the week after here? If we can't do it the first week of November because of William Hall Library and the public library.
and the election,
And the
the only
election.
thing I would ask is if we do it for zoning. So zoning would be the Wednesday. Because if there's zoning recommendations,
Yeah, I
they
understand.
can't have zone.
All right, just give me a second here. I'm gonna look it up on the, we have gotten in trouble for, sometimes meetings are not posted to the calendar, so we're not, it's not foolproof in terms of what we can do. So let's just take a look. Give me 1 second.
So that would be the 8th of, no. the 12th.
Right now, the 8th or the, excuse me. The,
Is anything posted for the 12th?
hold on,
okay.
we're talking the November calendar, so
Yeah.
the 8th is a Friday, so, possibly the Tuesday. Or the Wednesday. Those 2 nights look to be. Nope, sorry, the Wednesday's a zoning board, Tuesday, the 12th, or Monday. It looks like Monday is clear, or Tuesday. Monday, the 11th is holiday? Okay,
Yeah.
well then I guess it'd have to be the 12th.
It'll be the 12th. Okay, I will accept a motion to move the date for the November regular meeting to the 12th of November.
6:30 in this building.
6:30 in this building. Moved by Commissioner Exter, seconded by Commissioner Matus. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
So now, Mr. Smith, we can do the motion to continue that one, so.
Yep. Okay. Whoops, wrong page. Okay, I'll accept a motion to continue the 40 Meredith Drive matter to Tuesday, November 12th. Okay, moved by Commissioner Mancini, seconded by Commissioner Lanfear. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and it's officially moved. Okay, thank you.
Well, the agenda will be posted. It's posted on the Secretary of State's website. It's posted on the city website, but they will not receive another mailing notice. Correct, sir, but one, that's the law, but two, more importantly, if they didn't show up, the hearing would have been tonight. So, you know, if you could, sir, thank you. Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, next order of business. Subdivision and land development projects. The Khaleesi Plat RPD. This is a public hearing about a residential plan development, major land development project. Construction of 3 two-unit condominiums for a total of 6 dwelling units.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, why don't we just have the staff describe it, and then we'll go right to the applicant.
Okay. This is the master plan for Khaleesi Plat RPD. This is a residential plan development at 20 Warren Avenue and Stoneham Court. And it's an A6 zone, a single-family residential future land use map designation. And the project is to construct a 3-unit, condominium development with 6 units total, which will be made of 3 two-unit townhouses. Here is the zoning map. Future land use map. The aerial view for the property. Another angle. Here's the street view from 2022. You can also see here Stoneham Court, which is kind of the this like gravel road that kind of goes up to the rear that connects to an existing house in the back that will remain and is not part of this development. And the shed that you see on the left is proposed to be raised for this development. Same angle, just a little, this is from the actual road from Warren Avenue, the view. Here is the existing conditions plan. The conventional plan, basically to show this as a comparison to conventional use versus a RPD. And here is the proposal as an RPD. You can see the 3 two-unit townhouses on this smaller square foot. Here is the open space plan. Basically, this demonstrates that the applicant is proposing or providing the required open space for the residential plan developments. Here are proposed renderings provided by the applicant in the front as well as the rear and the side. Do you want to go ahead?
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. For the record, Robert Murray, 21 Garden City Drive in Cranston. I'm here tonight on behalf of the owner and applicant of the subject petition, Khaleesi Development LLC. With me this evening is Mr. Dante Khaleesi, the principal of Khaleesi Development, along with Mike McCormick from Alpha Associates, our surveying company, and Tim Behan, B-E-H-A-N, our professional engineer. Some of you, or most of you should recall, I believe we were here in August at a pre-application stage to share the concept of this project. This is submitted at a master plan level, but as a residential plan district, which is an available mechanism within our zoning ordinance. I know the commission doesn't see those as frequently as more traditional subdivisions, but in short, Mr. Marcello can guide you on this, but the requirements of an RPD is that you first lay out a conventional subdivision plan to determine your lot yield. And in this case, we were able to lay out 6 conventional lots, more or less at a cul-de-sac, around a cul-de-sac as shown on that plan there. And Mike McCormick's going to come up and talk a little bit more. But once we determined we had 6 lots, we then looked at the RPD, and that was the concept that we've proceeded forward with. These are two townhouse structures, as the rendering showed. They would be single-family condominiums, just joined together in that setting as shown here. The staff did a nice report in their report. I would just note that initially there was a little confusion whether these are 2-family houses or individual condominiums. They're 2-unit buildings, and there was a suggestion we might need a waiver. I agree that in the A6 zone, 2 families are not allowed under the RPD, but these are not 2-family dwellings. They are individual units. I just want to clarify that. It's a very minor comment in the staff report. This property owned by Khaleesi Development is rather unique because the entryway off Warren Avenue is actually owned by Khaleesi Development, and it comprised of 3 lots, which since we were last here, we've combined into 1 lot through an administrative subdivision. But of note is at the bottom of your screen there is a lot at the end of what's called Stoneham Court, even though it's everybody acknowledges Stoneham Court, but it's not an official city street. There is a house right there, is circled with the cursor. Those people have had the right to cross over Khaleesi Development property. It was obviously owned by somebody else previously. We will not interfere with their access to their property. In fact, they will now enjoy an improved road surface and the possibility of connecting to utilities. So, but that entryway off Warren Avenue is actually privately owned by Khaleesi Development, as are the remainder of the green portion you're looking at there. So there is a house to the left-hand side or on the easterly side of the road. Nope, the other side. That was, nope, that little cutout right there. Nope, keep moving. There you go, right there. That house there is the property at 20 Warren Avenue, and that was owned by a related entity. Well, not a related entity, a different LLC and that property has recently been sold. So just for the record, when that property was sold, we granted to that property owner the right to pass over the Khaleesi development in order to get to the new driveway that they're putting in, which is just to the left of that red dot there. So, we're not interfering with that house's right to get access, nor would we be impeding right of anyone else who has rights along that Stoneham Court. With that explanation, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to have Mike McCormick come up and give a brief overview of this, and then we can talk about a few other issues with this property.
Thank you.
If people could please sign in on the sign-in sheet as they come up to the, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael McCormick. I'm a professional land surveyor with Alpha Associates Limited in East Greenwich, representing police development tonight. So we have a good idea where this is with respect to the location. Generally speaking, from a topographical standpoint, the southern end of the site is around elevation 63, and that slopes down towards roughly elevation 46 down towards Warren Avenue. Warren Avenue has got public sewer, public water. I believe there's gas there. We've already got letters from Kent County Water and the sewer department, whose name escapes me right now, as far as availability to that. So we'll be putting up sewer mains and water mains up the private road to the foreseen cul-de-sac. We've conducted some soil evaluations and some preliminary drainage designs that Mr. Bean can speak of if you want to, and we're confident that we can, make the development work based on, the types of soils that we have. There are no wetlands on the site. Again, water tables are anywhere in the developable area from 8 to, I believe, 12-foot water tables. Gravelly, outwashy type soils, probably not classified as outwash, but very good water tables. There is a shaded Zone X flood zone on the north side of the site, on the very north side. That's a non-hazardous flood zone. That's an area outside of a 100-year flood. It's between, as FEMA defines it, is between 100 and a 500-year flood. We will not be disturbing that at all. That's part of our open space. It will remain lawn, or it could possibly be vegetated with some landscaping or something of that nature along the way. So all of the units, again, will be serviced by public water and sewer. We're bounded by the south by the Washington secondary bike path. And again, on the north by Warren Avenue. Stoneham Court, you could tell by going through the land evidence records in the time frame of how the westerly side and the southerly side of Warren Avenue, this was probably contemplated as a street one time, but just never made it to that. How it got the name Stoneham Court, I don't know. We'd like to keep that name, though, I think, for simplicity's sake, and just make it a private roadway. If anybody has any questions for me or Mr. Bean after that regarding the development, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the commission at this time? Commissioner Frias?
Are you able to talk about the drainage issue? Okay. All right, thank you.
What drainage issue are we talking about?
How are you going to deal to make sure that there's not, when there's a storm, the runoff?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I think that's me. I just want to note that in one of the comments in the staff report from Public Works or City Traffic Engineer was numbering of these units. We will have to work that out with 911 and the fire department, and that should not be a problem. And one of the conditions of approval, if we ever get to that this evening, was the provision of a fire hydrant on Warren Avenue And we don't see that as an obstacle either. So, Jim, why don't you just introduce yourself, give your background, and then your involvement with the project. Talk about, obviously, we haven't done the final design yet on this because we're only at the master plan level, but based on what you know, can you talk about the engineering of the site, and when ready, could you respond to Mr. Frias's questions regarding drainage and how we're handling that?
I think there's a sign-in sheet up here too somewhere. Is there a sign-in? Okay, okay. Good evening. Once again, my name is Timothy Behan, professional engineer with the firm Commonwealth Engineers and Consultants in Providence, Rhode Island. To give a little history, I'm a partner at Commonwealth Engineers. We have roughly 22 employees / engineers. We're based in Providence and Smith Street. I head up the site development section and cover many planning board, zoning board meetings throughout Rhode Island. We also have a bridge section and a highway traffic section for engineers. Regarding this site and specifically drainage, we're complied to ensure that there's no net increase in runoff post-project when we compare it to existing conditions. And to do that, we have to write an engineering report, put it in computer models, and just ensure that takes place. Specifically for this site, the rooftops, if you look closely, go to dry wells, subsurface chambers. You could see the unit to the left, the single unit off by itself. There's two dry well units basically close to and under the driveways there. And if you look closely to the right side, between the two buildings, you can see the chambers, yep, right there. There's a subsurface infiltration system there for the rooftops of those two buildings. And a little up further, yeah, where that red little circle's moving, there's another subsurface infiltration system there to capture the road runoff and obviously mitigate that for both quantity and quality.
Based on interest on this issue, could you, and I know you're familiar with this, Cranston, in heavy rainstorms, we experience issues relating to Wilbur Avenue and the railroad trestle there, or the bike path trestle. What, if anything, will this project have any impact on that? And could you speak why we won't? Because I think that's going to be your answer.
Yeah. Basically, I did say that before. We need to analyze what's going on pre-project, not only volume, but rate, two different variables. And then we do the same post-project. After the development's built, we put in the model. We need to ensure that both, especially in a flood zone, potential flooding situation down gradients, we need to ensure that the volumes don't increase. So that's something we look at. It's going to be, written up in a report, documented, and reviewed by both the city and DEM.
Commissioner Frias.
And I know that's probably at the preliminary plan stage, when we make the final determination about there's no increase in runoff from this new development. Do you make the representation and certify it is that there is no net increase in runoff, and who else reviews it? DEM?
Yes, so we certify it with the stamped report.
Yep.
And it's got the computer model, paper form inside of it. And that goes to DEM. It's reviewed at DEM.
Yep.
And it also goes to DPW / engineering department in the city.
Okay.
Other questions, members of the commission? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Commissioner Matus, I'm sorry.
I had one question that I think I already know the answer to. Waivers on the staff report says none to report. That infers to me that you're going to install curbing. I don't believe that is the case. Can you clarify that? Correct, yes. So a curb waiver would be required to not install the curbing.
Well, clearly within the site will be private, so we will not be what we choose to do within the site will be dictated by the design. And if you're questioning out on the roadway, is that your question?
Yeah, no, I just see there's no waivers here. I know you're not planning on installing curbing. I'm just questioning, I don't know if it's for the staff or for the applicant. Should it say in here, they're requesting a curb waiver?
Can I just have a moment, Mr. Chairman? I believe, in an earlier discussion, it might have been with Mr. Matus's office. I don't believe there's any curbing out there, so we didn't propose any to be consistent with the existing condition. If it requires a waiver, then I will respectfully ask that we be allowed to request one. If not tonight, we'll certainly do it at the preliminary stage. But if it's in order, I would ask for the commission to, if in the event you desire to approve the master plan, at least tonight, let's cover the request as a waiver of curbing, and we'll work with the Public Works Department between now and preliminary plan stage, if that's acceptable.
Yeah, that would be perfect for me.
Thank you.
I just had one question. Talked about Stoneham Court as essentially being a paper street. Is that an existing city right of way?
No,
It is not.
it's
Okay.
a private, it's a lot, and it's deeded to Khaleesi Development, subject to the rights of those to pass over it, which are private rights as opposed to public rights.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else from the commission at this point? Commissioner Frias.
This is the follow-up on something you mentioned earlier, Mr. Murray. I just want to understand. You indicated that this was two single-family residences that simply are connected in the same building. And therefore, they qualify as single-family residences, and you do not need a waiver. That was my understanding of your position, right?
That is correct. The RPD ordinance describes you're allowed to have townhouses, you're actually allowed to have more connected. It talks about separation between buildings, but in this case, there are two single-family condominium units connected together. It is not a two-family dwelling.
And because there is it's a condo, therefore there's an ownership interest. This is not a two-family dwelling because the second dwelling would be rented. That's probably the simplest way to explain it, right?
Well, in a two-family dwelling setting, either unit could be rented, but in this case, they will be owned. There will be a condominium association formed that will own the common elements and the open space, and each condo owner will own their unit in fee.
Okay.
Subject to the rights of all the other condominium owners.
And our RPD regs specifically allow for townhouses / condos.
Yes.
Okay.
Two-family dwellings are not allowed in an A6 zone, but these are not two-family dwellings. That's the distinction I'm trying to make.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the commission? Is there anyone present who would like to be heard on this matter? Yes, please come up and just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dan DiBiasio. I live at 24 Warren Avenue. If you go to the street view, my house is to the right. There are no sidewalks on Warren Avenue. My concern would be the flooding. The house to the left, that front yard, if you can see the second line of leaves, that whole area is covered with water during the floods that we do have. They're not occasional, they seem to be having more frequency now based on the conditions. So that front yard fills up with water. I do have video of that case, but my concern would be the effects of the dwellings. They look excellent, well thought out. I understand you have the dry wells, but still, that is a flood zone. Not occasionally, but every time, we all know the Oak Lawn Bridge, there's always a car there. We put flashing lights because of that reason, and people still get stuck. So saying that it's occasional flood is not reality. It's frequent. So my concern, again, would be the flooding. How are you going to mitigate that? And you really can't say it's not going to add to it. Of course, it's going to add to it in some way. The water's going to go somewhere. With those dry wells, how big are they? And is that going to change the water table? The city did put a drain in the front yard to the left. You can't see where that tree is, to mitigate and drain out, and it does work very well. But still, it's just the quantity and the frequency that it happens. There is an easement, well, based on, that is a private road. There is a easement for public access that I have had to sign in the past for 10 or 20 years. I have to update it, but there is a public access to that house in the back. And the reason why it's named Stoneham Court Continuation is for public safety reasons, because the house in the back, police and fire wouldn't have notice of it if it wasn't on record of being, having some type of deviation of where it's located. The other thing is, with Oak Lawn School, they park on both sides of the road, which is not a problem, but we're adding 12 more vehicles at least in that area, so it's going to get kind of tight with the traffic during open houses in school and stuff like that. So that is current, but the water does come down from Oak Lawn Hills under the bridge, crosses that area. It's almost like a bowl that fills up with water, goes across the street, and actually goes behind Oak Lawn School out to 295. There's a wetland in area there, so that's on a frequent basis. So the city should really, have this well thought out in the sense of if it adds to it, it may impact Oak Lawn School if it's open during major storms, because that will affect traffic going in and out. That's I understand you need houses in Cranston, people need places to live. It's well thought out. If you can go to the 3-unit plan, continue. Yeah, right there. You can't barely see, but that is a flood zone that corners that house. It's almost like that dark line, but there's a blue line in that area, yes. It does extend to the corner of that house and across the street. The corner lot on Warren Avenue, Wilbur Avenue, I think it's a 3-family. They just installed a wall adjacent to their property, so it's they elevated, because what would happen is when it rained, it would flood their basement. So they did install a wall to raise the grade, and it does push the water closer away from the house, so at least the basement doesn't flood. So we'll have to take that, look at that also. But you're reducing the area for water to be absorbed into the land. There are 4 dry wells that are installed. But, how long will they hold the water for? And what would that affect the groundwater around us? And that, right now my basement's dry. And the unit behind me, they have an elevation of a wall. I'm not sure how high that elevation is going to be. This is the wall around both sides and the back of it to, I guess, level it off. I'm not sure what effects that will have on my, drainage on my property too. But pretty much that's my concern. But
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else would like to be heard on this matter? Is there anybody online who would like to be heard on this matter?
There is no public comment.
Okay. In that case, I'll accept a motion that public comment be closed. Moved by Commissioner Matus. And seconded by Commissioner Mancini. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, let's go back to staff and get our recommendation.
I'm going to move into the planning analysis. The comprehensive plans, future land use map, designates the property as single family residential. And the property is, the proposed use is permitted by right in the A6 zoning district, and the, forgot to add this in, but it'll state in the memo. The density is also consistent with, so despite the 6 units on the townhouse units, the density is well within the future land use maps density numbers. And regarding consistency of the surrounding area, the surrounding properties are zone A6, and all developed as single, 2-family, and multifamily residences. Development will be set back from Warren Avenue, and therefore development should have minimal impact on the curbside aesthetic integration along Warren Avenue. These townhouses also very much fit in with the surrounding developments. Moving to the environmental impacts, don't really see, it's as we stated before, most of the drainage will be done in the preliminary plan, but given what we know now, we're not really anticipating any significant environmental impacts. As already mentioned, the shaded X flood zone, which is the 0.2% annual chance flood event, which is also not a regulated zone for us, is outside of the project area. And there are several drainage structures that should help mitigate any increase to the outflow to the flooding area. The natural heritage map shows that there's no known rare species or sensitive habitats located on the site. As already stated, the drainage structures need to compensate for any additional impermeable surface that has been added to the site. Overall, the proposal is already on mostly disturbed urban land, and it's outside of the flood zone and without any wetlands on site. And any removal of these existing trees, mostly shown on the south side, and landscaping will be compensated for with the proposed open space. Regarding parking and traffic circulation, adequate off-street parking is proposed. Will be about 4 spaces per unit. The proposed driveway and cul-de-sac adhere to local regulations. The addition of 6 housing units should only create a minimal impact on the surrounding traffic circulation. When it comes to the access and the site fencing, the access to the site is going to be through Stoneham Court, and which is proposed to receive a 20-foot wide paved road. And an easement should continue the access for 25 Stoneham Court, which was the building that was further to the south. And that should be maintained. When talks with the fire marshal, they found no issues regarding emergency vehicle access, the proposal, and no fencing is proposed at this time. This has already been stated by the applicant, but The fire marshal requested that this is going to be in the conditions, or we're going to ask for the commission to add as a condition. Fire marshal requests the installation of a fire hydrant along Warren Avenue, near the entrance of the driveway, of the proposal, because there's no fire hydrants close enough that would allow the fire department to access that site. Moving to the findings of facts, the meeting has been properly posted and noticed. The proposed density, here's the actual number, which is 4.11 units per acre, falls within the FLUM designation of 7.26 and 3.64, and is consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposal's compliance with all zoning standards will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance. No significant cultural, historic, or natural features that contribute to the attractions of the community have been identified on site. This finding pertains specifically to the final plan, however, no significant environmental impacts are anticipated. Proposal will be outside any flood zones, and no wetlands are known to be on the subject lot. As always, project will be subject to all state and local regulations, and the natural heritage map doesn't show any rare species on the site. Proposal will not result in the creation of individual lots with physical constraints. Design of location of the buildings, lots, utilities, drainage, and other improvements will conform to local regulations. Adequate physical access is proposed. An easement will be required for 25 Stoneham Courts, that continuous access to Warren Avenue. And with the current proposal, he provides for safe and adequate local circulation for vehicle traffic. Our recommendation is that proposal is consistent with the standards and required findings, facts set forth in Rhode Island General Law 45/2460 and our local regulations. And we recommend that the City Plan Commission adopts the findings of facts and approve the master plan application subject to these conditions. One, all outside approvals from relevant state and local agencies shall be provided. Two, provision of a fire hydrant along Warren Avenue to the specifications of the Cranston Fire Department and the Department of Public Works.
Okay, I'd like to add, it's already a part of the findings. But when this comes back for preliminary, preliminary plan, the commission will take, a very close look at runoff mitigation and how that's designed, just to ensure that we don't have issues down the road. Okay, if there are no other questions, I will accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Matisse.
could we just add the condition that the applicant will work with Public Works on the curb waiver?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, approval with the additional condition of approval.
Make a motion to approve with the conditions.
Commissioner Matisse moves approval with conditions as stated and as amended. Seconded by Commissioner Mancini. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Okay, next order of business is 1489 Pippin Orchard Road. It's a public hearing. This is under Unified Development Review, and it is a combined master preliminary plan, residential plan development, major land development project, construction of residential planned development consisting of 4 single-family homes. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sanford J. Resnick. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Good evening. This is a unified development review with request for dimensional variance. So we need to go through without overlapping, which is not really going to happen, go through our dimensional relief. And then we'll get into the heart of the matter. A couple of things. This is a 21-acre parcel of real estate. And what we're looking for is 4 additional lots, which actually give us 6 lots. So there'll be 4 additional lots, one with an existing house on it, and another lot, which will be an open space lot, which we plan to dedicate to the city of Cranston, which is quite sizable. Actually, we were here in 2022 and had a master, and since that time done a lot of studies and came up with what we believe is a much better plan for everybody involved. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to ask Jenna Shea to go through the plan and show you the areas and the dimensional relief we're looking for the 4 lots. I get Pimentel, my land use and zoning consultant. We'll get into a little more depth. We're going to try to keep it simple. Obviously, if you have more questions, if we get through the first step, then we'll get into more breadth of an explanation of the entire plan. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jenna Shea. I'm a project manager at Dupree Engineering, which is located at 2 Stafford Court in Cranston, Rhode Island. So we are here, I'm going to keep this very, very high level, and then I'll get into a little more of the weeds of the engineering in my later presentation. If we could just bring up the site plan. That's perfect. So on the site plan, you'll see we're proposing 4 residential lots that will have proposed homes in them, and those are located in that front corner of the property. So those are lots 1 through 4. For all of these lots, we will need dimensional relief. So we're going to need dimensional relief for the minimum lot area that's required in the A80 zone, which is 80,000 square feet. And then we are also going to need a dimensional relief from the minimum lot width and frontage, which has a required 200 feet. The reason we're here today requesting the dimensional relief is, as Mr. Resnick mentioned, we did receive a master plan approval on a different layout in 2022. And since then, we have looked into revising the layout in order to have a less impactful design. In the old layout, we were proposing a roadway. This layout does not have any roadway creation. Therefore, we have less stormwater mitigation measures and such. So therefore, we do believe this is far less impactful and will really fit in well with the the Cranston Vale in this area. So for the back 2 lots, we're requesting frontage to 20 feet, and this will allow for them each to have a private driveway that goes to their back lots. And then due to these 20-foot sections, we're also going to request relief for lots 1 and 2 that have frontage directly on Pippin Orchard, and those would be reduced down to 150. As for the areas, our areas are going to range from 36,000 square feet to approximately 48,000 square feet. And the usable area will range from 33,000 to 47,000. So that is a reduction from the minimum of 80. And if you have any questions, feel free.
Yeah, thank you.
So since I'm speaking to the zoning lead, do I need to be sworn in or we are not required?
That's not required.
Okay. So we do have a rather, I'm sorry, Edward Pimentel for the record. That's P as in Paul, Imentel. So we do have a rather unique situation here in that we have an approved development that we did pursuant to the RPD. So basically what that is a clustering tool. So most communities have these various tools to cluster development in order to preserve land resources and to reduce the need for infrastructure. Obviously, you first need to prepare a yield plan to illustrate what you could accommodate under the current zoning. And then, of course, the goal is, why are we utilizing up all these land resources? Let's consolidate and try to preserve land. So we have an approved development as we stand. The problem is, in getting that development approved to meet those reduced requirements, we got an approved public roadway to go with it. And the roadway is approximately 2/3 to an acre of additional hard surface with the associated drainage and all of the other environmental impacts. And as this commission knows well, because on an annual basis, you have to provide recommendations to the council on capital budget and the capital improvements program, all of the fiscal impacts that come with roadway infrastructure. So we went back to the drawing board and said, how could we still mirror the RPD, which is a clustering tool, and do so without the roadway surface? Well, as a technicality, it incurred some variances because you have to apply the conventional standards. But I did a table on pages 11 and 12 of my report where I compared every single nuance of what would be required under a conventional, what would be required under RPD, and what was approved and what we're proposing. And we almost mirrored that development proposal that's already approved, that could be proceeding on to prelim, and what we were able to do without a roadway. And if you look at that approved development as a technicality, 2 of the lots were frontage lots, and the roadway really only served the need to provide access to 2 more lots. It seems absurd. It seems against contrary to any planning practice. And obviously, this is a better proposal. And in so doing, we're meeting several objectives of your comprehensive plan, which I will quote into the record. Your comprehensive plan speaks to, and I quote the following: to decrease municipal costs in development. Number 2, to minimize site disturbance. Number 3, reduce the impacts of land development and stormwater runoff. We're accomplishing so many goals and objectives of your comprehensive plan by eliminating an unnecessary roadway, and we can still match the yield plan that was presented, the density that was presented, and even though this is now technically under a conventional subdivision, we designed it so that we are still providing what would have been required under the RPD, the requisite public open space and usable open space. So we're meeting all of the standards of the RPD, albeit a conventional, and without a roadway. So as an urban planner, I say I can stand behind this development. Absolutely. I think this is what we call good planning, and hopefully the commission sees that as well. If you want, I also address all of the requisite burdens because we technically do, as this board now has the authority under the UDR to first grant the relief before we can move on to the actual subdivision, and that's what the law states now. It's zoning first, followed by the subdivision. I'm telling you, the variances we seek are purely technical in nature because we could develop this, but with a roadway, and I don't think it's appropriate. I don't know if you have any questions.
I could just ask, how many units would be allowed on this parcel by right?
So we have an approved development for 4 new house lots in addition to the existing single-family home. We have not asked for any additional density on this proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any other questions?
Other questions
Thank you.
at this time? Thank you. Commissioner Lanfear.
I'm sorry, thank you. The conventional proposal, would that require zoning variances?
It does. So because we technically got rid of the roadway and we couldn't meet some of the technical points of the RPD, this has to be submitted as a conventional subdivision. So on page
Yes,
The current approval?
yes, I'm sorry, I didn't word that very well.
No, we.
Not this, I
Yeah,
understand
the
you
current
do
approval
here.
didn't require any variances.
Correct.
The previous master plan approval was requesting a dimensional variance, or was going to, for the existing home that's actually located in that top right corner of the property. That lot used to be in the application strictly because we needed dimensional relief for their existing home to the right of way.
And on the approved 2022 plan, what were the lot sizes?
I don't know if you have a copy of this suggestion, but I can. Versus what we're proposing now in that table. Lot by lot by lot. But what I did is I contrasted what was approved in 2022 versus what we're proposing today.
And Brianna, is that loaded? Is that is that somewhere on the website? Okay.
And by the way, Commissioner Lanfair, I did that specifically for that very reason. I wanted to show in detail how we were trying to mirror that development and yet do it without the need for a roadway. And yes, because now we are technically calling this a conventional subdivision, now you're gonna apply the 80,000 square feet and the required lot frontage. Whereas a clustering tool allows you to reduce those things, right? But it incurred the need for a roadway. I feel it's an equitable trade-off.
So just for the record, we're not technically calling it a conventional subdivision. It is a conventional subdivision.
Yeah.
Is a conventional
is, yes.
subdivision.
Yes, my apologies. It is a conventional subdivision, and we tried to design it as we would have allowed under the RPD, but because of that, we need variances, yes.
And so I do see from looking at this that you prepared the RPD areas and the areas that are part of tonight's proposal are fairly consistent,
That is correct.
but the frontage is very different.
That's right, and that was what drew the need for a roadway that was 30-something thousand square feet. So the roadway was purely to cure deficiencies in lot frontage. And by the way, if you look at that approved plan, it was technically to provide frontage for two properties because the other two lots had frontage on Pippin Orchard Road themselves. So I'm just saying, I understand we need variances. I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying is, for the need for insufficient frontage, does that make common sense for an entire new road, public roadway, that this municipality will then have to incur future fiscal impacts and the environmental degradation that comes with, and the associated drainage, et cetera? I just think for some minor variances, I think it's appropriate, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
I guess a question for Jason or the staff, has Ed's report been circulated to the commissioners? You haven't received the report?
It wasn't on the website. It wasn't on the.
My records, my own show that was sent in, I think I may have a full report I could produce.
Yeah, just Sandy, if you could come to the microphone, just because we got people online, I'm sorry. Yeah, oh, no problem. I can hear you, but I just want to make sure
I'm hearing
that,
there's a technical issue because my paralegal advised me that it was sent in, so there's an issue.
okay. I just want to make sure that they get a chance to review it and the staff gets a chance to review it. I mean, we certainly can enter it in tonight, and then if, you know, you need time to review it, or if you don't, that's not up to me, but I just want to make sure it gets into the record.
Yeah,
properly.
I was gonna say, it wasn't on the website. I would have remembered it. It's
Yeah,
not. And I just was,
correct.
when you're done with it, I just want to look at that page again because I just passed it down.
Okay. Okay. So we do have it.
Do have it.
We do have
Okay.
it. Okay, I just want to make sure it's in the record. Okay.
Okay, other questions from the commission at this time? Commissioner Frias.
Just so, this is for Mr. Pimental, and then I'll ask the attorney. Basically, whether you do the plan that we approved in 2022 or this plan, you guys would need a variance in order to do an open space protection type
I will,
division.
I'll let Jenna speak to that one variance that was not involved.
Okay.
So we would need a variance for that lot that's not really a part of the development.
Yeah.
Just because of their existing home, because in order to prevent them from having some sort of variance, we would have to put the right-of-way, the new right-of-way, over from the current right-of-way, which obviously is not ideal engineering or site layout wise.
Okay.
So you want to put it in the location of the existing that's already there.
And each of the lots here are at least, or approximately 1 acre, approximately, I think, all of the new lots.
So,
It's like 36,000, 30,
so do you want me to just quickly run through these? So
yeah.
the RPD area of lot one, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
You
yeah,
have
so
them up
it's,
anywhere.
okay,
It was 34,971, now it's gonna be 36,970. So
Yeah.
lot one is gonna be slightly larger. Lot two will be slightly larger from the RPD approved lot, as
Yeah.
will lot three. They're all gonna be slightly larger because we were able to incorporate getting rid of the roadway
right, right,
into the lots.
yeah,
What happened was, because we extinguished the roadway, obviously, we can't meet the lot frontage requirement,
yeah,
right? So that is why we're bringing in what I guess you would argue technically look like flag lots or so forth, but the narrow driveways out to the public road, because every lot needs to have physical frontage on a
Right.
public right of way.
Right.
So it's really the frontage that becomes the big variance issue, not lot area. And yes, it is a conventional subdivision. So from the perspective of the 80,000, it looks drastically smaller, but from the RPD, we're actually larger than what was approved,
okay.
lot area wise.
And this will be a question for your attorney, he may address it at some point. Because this is a unified development here at the planning board, this year we have to deal with obviously variances. So I just want you to address specifically, why is there a hardship here? Why do you need these variances? I think I know what your answer is, but I just want to hear why there is a hardship.
And before he answers that, I do just want to point out that the table in here, on this presentation has been revised in the narrative, to eliminate the easements, as we had discussed. So these numbers are just slightly different from the revised narrative that I had provided.
Can I just, we actually addressed that specifically with each one of the requirements of the statute in the report. So
Well, that's probably why I'm asking, because I didn't see the report.
Hardship results from the unique characteristics of the property itself and the lot because of its odd configuration. It's a 21+ acre site. If you look at the density that's allowed prescribed by your future land use map and the comprehensive plan, we're not even seeking permission to come close what the density would allow, but we just don't have enough lot frontage given its unique configuration. That's why we needed to introduce another roadway, because the lot can accommodate a full roadway and manage to provide the density that we're talking about today, right? So the uniqueness of the characteristics of the property allows us to establish the density we want under a clustering tool, but in so doing, it creates an impact, a fiscal and environmental impact to the community. as a trade-off, given the unique characteristics of the lot and its configuration, we asked for some variances, eliminate the roadway, and I think that meets the hardship test. The uniqueness of the property and its configuration isn't something that was established by the property owner. It was a lot that's been well platted, even prior to zoning. And then finally, I put into the record how we're consistent with the comprehensive plan and the goals and objectives. And as we all know now, as of this year, there is no economic gain burden. That's been eliminated. There's no lease relief burden. That's been eliminated. And the mere inconvenience argument is actually now been watered down to relief that would allow you a reasonable, permissible use of the property, as we've evidenced by the clustering tool that is permissible, right? But we're now at the pursue it as a conventional to eliminate the roadway. And that's why I think it's very appropriate and reasonable.
So your hardship is in order to have a conventional subdivision here with RPD characteristics, you're gonna need variances. That's the hardship.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct.
I just had a question too. Would you say that by eliminating one of the roadways, it will cut down on impervious surface and have a less of an impact on runoff, other environmental issues?
Yes. So myself, together with the project engineer and the developer owner himself, because he's in the business, we actually discussed that issue at length. We're talking up to between 2/3 and an acre of additional hard surface, the drainage system that would be required to address that hard surface. And if you think about it now, we're talking about a public roadway. So what that means, obviously, common sense, it means serving vehicles. And then the environmental and degradation of pollution of the vehicles, because you got to treat that not just purely as clean roof runoff, but as vehicular runoff. So now you got to have oil water separators, the whole 9 yards. And then there's the heating effect that comes for that kind of asphalt, the fiscal impact that eventually, when you have to maintain snow plowing, et cetera, it's all in my report. It just goes on. And when I sat there and started thinking about the relief that would be required primarily for lot frontage, because we matched the lot area, I just said, I can support this as a planner. I absolutely can support this.
Commissioner Lanfear.
2 questions. I think your hardship arguments are creative, but as we sit as the zoning board for purposes of hardship, would you agree that your configuration of lots creates the need for variance and creates your own hardship?
Well, I mean, obviously, you can say that anybody's actions that come before a zoning board, right, is self-created, any actions. If I put an addition on my house and I need a side yard setback, the actions of putting the addition created the side yard setback. But the law says, is it something inherent in the land or inherent in the structure that created the hardship? I would say with a 21-acre site that you can show that you're supposed to be using a tool that consolidates home sites and tries to preserve more land, but in so doing, you're actually utilizing more land for inappropriate purposes like a roadway, and you can do so without it. I think the problem is inherent in the configuration of that property itself.
I'm struggling with those issues too, because I do see benefits.
Sure.
But I'm also struggling with what the law says clearly, and there's actually, there are 2 different issues under the law. One is the uniqueness of the property. So there are times when the physical layout of the property or other aspects of the property require someone to do something different and seek a variance.
Sure.
But in this case, you have property that you are choosing to subdivide in a particular manner. And so that is an action by the applicant, in my opinion, that's creating their own hardship. And so that's how I view that.
Understood.
The other question that I have is on the RPD, and I don't know the mechanism, but it is a recorded plan, and that open space property is recorded as such. here, if it's a conventional plan, how is that open space area going to be recorded in the land evidence records to ensure that it remains that way?
I mean, before I refer it over to both the engineer and the attorney, that's why we said we are creating technically six lots. There's the 4 new house lots, there's the existing home site, and there's going to be an open space lot. And you can create a lot that doesn't have the required frontage and area if it's not going to be for development purposes. So this lot will be created as a purely open space lot. You're right, we're also going to provide public access. It's going to be a public lot, right? It's going to be under the control of the city. It'll have public access. It'll meet the requirements, both acreage-wise and usable, of the RPD regulations. And it'll be protected in perpetuity as a public open space lot.
So, maybe this is a question for Sandy. Normally the city doesn't want these lots. In other words, it would be some type of conservation easement, which the city would, and the public would allow access, but it's typically a lot of the association, not a deeded lot to the city of Cranston.
I mean, we could do a conservation easement. I mean, we designed it with access, so it's not just out there.
Yeah, oh yeah, no. I mean, just from a pure legal standpoint, normally it's not a deeded parcel to the city. It's normally the association, the homeowners association, whatever, owns it. However, there's a conservation or an access easement to the public. I haven't seen the city take a lot in quite a while.
Some places, again, we do this all over.
Yeah, no, I know.
Some places, we'll take them, whatever the city wants us to do, if they want us.
Yeah, I mean, that's maybe for the next presentation, but not for the zoning part, but maybe we can get to that later. But, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions, members of the commission? Does anyone here wish to be heard on this matter? Yes, please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name's Tim Reichart and I live at 48 Lauren Court. And I am an abutter. I'm new to this process, so bear with me. But as an abutter, I am not interested in all this development. They talk about the open space. The open space is, as best I know, high voltage power lines. We're not talking about green space and parks where the city has any real interest in this lot. It's high voltage power lines. There's a lot of development going on in that area up and down Pippin Orchard Road. And I think asking for variances to put more and more houses there is against my personal best interests and the interests of the neighbors. I believe it's in the best interests of the developers and the current landowners. And I don't think any other property owner in that area has a true interest in seeing this development come to fruition. So that's just my personal thought. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out, and that's all I have to add.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here who wishes to be heard? Okay, Mr. Lima, did you mention we had some people online?
There is no public comment.
There is no public comment. Okay. All right. In that case, I'll entertain a motion that public comment be closed. Motion made by Commissioner Mancini, seconded by Commissioner Lanfear. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, let's move to the staff analysis.
This is 1489 Pippin Orchard Road, master and preliminary plan of a major subdivision with zoning relief. The owner is NKC Investments LLC and Sosimo Construction LLC. The applicant is Secosia's Construction and Landscaping. The location is Assessor's Plat 28, lots 31 and 45 with the zone A80. The future land use designation of single-family residential less than 1 unit per acre. And the proposal is to reconfigure the 2 record lots into 6 new lots of various sizes for 1 house to remain, 4 new single-family homes, and 1 designation of public open space. The zoning map shows that we are in A80, surrounded by A20 to the east. And future land use map shows us that we have the one unit per acre designation. I outlined the property in the aerial view. And then I also included a close-up so you could kind of see the surrounding houses. This does not show the entire property, but just the properties nearby. And then another zoomed out of the 3D aerial view. This is the street view looking west from Pippin Orchard Road, looking towards the property. And this is looking a little bit more east where the property is over there to the right-hand side. And then you can see kind of what mirrors across the street. I've included the existing conditions plan, as well as that being followed by the proposal and a close-up of that proposal, which we were looking at or a bit earlier. I updated this chart for my presentation just now, so these numbers are correct now. The applicant is requesting relief from the schedule of intensities for a minimum lot area, which is required 80,000 square feet. Lot 1 will provide 36,970. Lot 2 will provide 36,092. Lot 3 will provide 48,021. And Lot 4 will provide 45,515 square feet. The minimum lot width and frontage, which is required to be 200 feet. Lot 1 and 2 are proposed of a frontage of 150, and lots 3 and 4 are proposed of a lot frontage of 20 feet. The comprehensive plan future land use map designates the subject property as single-family residential less than 1 unit per acre. The zoning map and ordinance designates the subject property as A80. The proposed use of 4 single-family residential homes is consistent with land use and inconsistent with the density designation in an A80 zoning district and future land use designation. The subject parcel is zoned A80, while the surrounding properties are mostly A80. There are A20 properties to the east. Development in the area consists mostly of single-family and farm forest development with scattered industrial and large business development. There is no significant environmental impacts anticipated as the project area is identified as Zone X. Although the subject property does lie within Zone A, it is not the project area where the homes are being proposed. RIDEM's natural heritage map shows that there are no known rare species or sensitive habitats located on or near the site. The design and location of building lots, utilities, drainage, and other improvements will conform to local regulations for mitigation of flooding and soil erosion. And the proposal will be subject to all state and local regulations pertaining to environmental impacts and wetlands. Staff notes that there is no reasonable avenue to construct this type of permitted development on the subject property without some type of dimensional relief. Staff have not found evidence that the applicant has created the presented hardship. The proposal is generally consistent with the general character of the surrounding area and the comprehensive plan. Staff notes that there is no reasonable, yes, that's a repeat. For subdivision and land development review, the proposal is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use map, which designates the property as single family, less than 1 unit per acre. Staff notes that this proposal requires and will seek dimensional zoning relief if granted. And if granted, will grant compliance with the zoning ordinance. No significant environmental impacts anticipated. The proposal will not result in the creation of individual lots with such physical constraints to the development that building on these lots according to pertinent regulations and building standards would be impractical. The proposal with the anticipated private driveway provides for safe and adequate local circulation for vehicular traffic. The proposal with the anticipated private driveways will have adequate permanent physical access to Pippin Orchard Road, a public city street. The staff finds this proposal generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance, and the standards for required findings of fact set forth in Rhode Island General Law 452360 and Section 3L of the Subdivision and Land Development Regulations. Staff therefore recommends that the City Plan Commission adopt the findings of fact documented above and approve the major subdivision for master/preliminary plan submittal, subject to the conditions denoted below. The conditions of approval: the final plan submittal shall be subject to the following: submission of MLCs for all applicable lots, submission of letters of availability of the Providence Water Supply Board for water availability respectively, and the payment of Eastern Cranston facility impact fees.
Okay. Now again, Councilor Marcella, refresh my memory again, because this is still a new process. Our first vote is on the zoning variance.
Yes, so, sorry, you guys are making me work tonight. So the first part we're doing is on the zoning variance solely, and then I believe both Jenna and Mr. Resnick have other experts regarding the subdivision. There's additional testimony regarding the subdivision, et cetera, because, for instance, you may want to put conditions on the subdivision separately after hearing the testimony or not, should you grant this appeal. So right now, it's just the zoning variances that we are voting on. And should that pass, then they can make their presentation on the subdivision and you guys can vote on that.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, Commissioner Lampier.
Thank you. May I ask a question with regard to the staff recommendation? If you can just go back to the beginning of the recommendation, please. I believe, and I'm just going to paraphrase, there were two places where you said something to the effect that there is no other alternative to this type of permitted development.
It's the first bullet point here.
No reasonable avenue to construct this type of permitted development on the subject property without some type of dimensional relief. Can you tell me what I don't understand what you mean by this type of permitted development?
In terms of the density and, in terms of the density, also slightly considering the configuration, there is some relief necessary to allow it to happen.
But we do have an approved master plan for an RPD development that on that piece of property. Would that be a type of permitted development? A similar type of permitted development?
It's similar, but with the previous discussion about the road, I think that this is makes this alternative significantly or significant enough of a difference and more beneficial.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, this time I'll accept a motion, the zoning variance recommendation.
I have a question.
Oh, Commissioner Matus, I'm sorry.
Under the conditions of approval, you mentioned the water availability. Do they have sewer availability? Or is that missing from that condition, or is this not the appropriate place to impose that?
So
Thank you.
Yes.
May I just ask if council can refresh us on what we are required to find on the zoning variance?
Sure, it should be in the, memorandum, which I'm gonna pull up right now. But you're required to used to know them by heart, but then they changed the law, so. Yeah, so it's in, Brianna put it in the memorandum, but that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land. That the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. That the granting of the requested relief won't alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent of the zoning code. And the new ones in granting the dimensional variance that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property. If the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning the relief sought is minimal to the reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted.
Commissioner Fry, yes.
Before we vote on this zoning thing, I'll just make a quick comment about why I'm gonna vote the way I am. Being the unified development has created complications for people like me on the planning board, because now we have to define hardship, how strictly we define hardship. I hear Commissioner Lanfear's comments about prior action of the applicant. In this situation, to respond a little bit to the public comment, even if we didn't do an RPD here, this individual is going to have a right to build houses. Whether it's a completely conventional plan, which is going to use more is going to have less open space and more impervious surface, and maybe wouldn't require a variance, but still, he's going to be able to build 5 houses. That's what I saw in the report by Mr. Pimentel, and that's my calculations are pretty much like that. So this isn't a question of whether or not we allow or don't allow housing. It's a question of what type of housing. So then you get into the RPD situation. This is a subdivision with an RPD design. If we had gone with the master plan approval last time, what I heard from the applicant is they would still have variance issues on one of the lots. So whatever type of RPD we do, we're going to have variances. Because there's going to be a variance no matter what type of RPD we do, I believe that means there is a hardship because the applicant can't do an RPD type of development without a request for a variance. So for that reason, I'm going to find that it does meet the zoning variance requirements. My definition of hardship and how I apply it will change over time. I'm still trying to work it out in my head, but here I think the hardship, there is a hardship. So just wanted to say that for the record so people understand where I'm coming from. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Okay. I'll accept a motion then on the request for zoning variance.
How do we make the motion to grant the variance?
If you're at the zoning board, that's how they do it, but since we're gonna do it right here, you would make the motion that that the applicant has met the 4 criteria under 25, 45, 24, 41, and adopt usually adopt the findings of the staff report, which
Okay.
in their reasoning they have given reasons why the applicant has done that.
Okay, so I make a motion that the applicant has met the criteria set forth from the Rhode Island General Law 45-24-41 for the reasons set forth in the staff's report to the commission.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Frias. We have a second. Seconded by Commissioner Mancini. Okay, further discussion? Sure. I've never held back before.
I just want to say that I am truly struggling with this one because I do see benefits. I appreciate Commissioner Frias's explanation. I just want to distinguish this and say that the circumstances of this particular matter are very different than a lot of the other ones that may come before us. So although I have difficulty on the hardship, I think that all of in totality, the better course to take is to approve it, but I don't want that to be blanket precedent in terms of how we look at these things. So, thank you.
Understood. Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. And now we move on to the development, the preliminary master plan.
Again, try not to be redundant. I'm gonna have Jenna come in, and this time we're gonna explain the entire plan from the lieutenant.
All right, so now I'm just going to give you my full presentation. I know this is a little scattered today. So for the record, my name is Jenna Shea from Dupree Engineering, and I'm a project manager on this project. I'm here on behalf of the applicant submitting a master and preliminary combined submission for the Pippin Orchards project. This project, if we could just bring up the aerial, please. The project is located on Pippin Orchard Road and is just north of Latin Knight Road in Cranston. On AP 28, Lot 31, which is one of the lots on our property, there is an existing residential home, and this residential home currently uses an existing gravel access drive that travels through AP 28, Lot 10. With a part of this application, we are not proposing any improvements to their existing drive, and they would remain accessed by their current drive as well as serviced by their existing well and their existing septic system. So the only part of that lot that is in this application is for it to be subdivided, but none of the disturbance is proposed within Lot 5. In the southwest corner of the site, you can see there is an existing electric and gas easement. If we could just bring up the existing conditions plan, please. So where you can see the kind of red polka dots, that's where we have an existing electric and gas easement. And then there is also wetlands scattered throughout the property. So there are Furnace Hill Brook is located along the northern edge of the project. Our limited disturbance is far away from this area. And then within our disturbance area, there is a small isolated wetland located in AP 28, Lot 45. But we are proposing to stay out of this wetland area. The wetland flagging, as shown on our plans, as well as the boundary survey, has been completed for the project. In addition, part of the due diligence that the applicant has completed, based on recommendations from the RIHPHC, we've completed an archaeological survey of the property where no significant findings were found. So as we had just ran into this discussion, we have revised the layout since the last approval, last master plan approval. We believe this proposal to be significantly less impactful. And if we could just pull up the proposed layout plan, the grading and drainage plan. So we are, as a part of this application, we're proposing 5 residential lots. One of the residential lots will include the existing home. And as I mentioned, it will be remained serviced by the existing utilities. And then we're proposing 4 additional lots that will have single-family homes on them, as well as an open space lot. The proposed lots 1 and 2 will have a proposed 150-foot of frontage, which is reduced from the required 200. And then lots 3 and 4 that are the back lots in the configuration will have a 20-foot proposed frontage with a private drive for each. So each single-family home will have its own private drive with frontage on Pippin Orchard Road. The lot areas, as we had just discussed, will range from 36,000 to 48,000 square feet, with usable areas ranging from 33,000 to 47,000 square feet. And as Lot 5 exists today, it is existing non-conforming, so we are not creating another non-conforming Lot 5. Additionally, although no longer required, because we're not being considered an RPD, we will be proposing the minimum required amount of open space that would be required if this project was classified as an RPD subdivision. And I would like to just point out that this configuration will not propose a roadway. Therefore, we're going to have less infrastructure. Additionally, what comes along with a proposed roadway is a lot more stormwater mitigation measures. Now that we're only proposing driveways and single-family homes, we were able to design this under the single-family home design guide, utilizing rain gardens as well as pervious pavement for lots 3 and 4. And we have no large underground infiltration systems or no large stormwater ponds or basins. For the utilities, the water service will be provided for lots 1 through 4, as well as sewer service. All of these, both the water and sewer availability letters were provided with our submission package, and we will be completing applications to both for approval. For RIDEM, we have submitted for wetlands review to RIDEM, and I touched base with them this morning, and we are expecting to receive comments or an approval back within the next few weeks. And then additionally, since Pippin Orchard Road is a state road, we will be submitting a RIDOT PAPA, which will be submitted within the next week or 2 as well. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to let me know. I'd be more than happy.
I'll keep it short and sweet too, so it won't be redundant, but one of the criteria for subdivision approval is consistency with the comprehensive plan. I won't repeat what I said in the initial part. It's in my report, but obviously, when you're eliminating an entire roadway that would become a public roadway and all the unnecessary hard surface and associated drainage that would have to be treated, it's an improvement for the community. That's become one of the biggest problems, obviously, is we're dealing with a lot of runoff and flooding because we keep adding more and more impervious surface. As an enforcement officer, it's probably one of the biggest problems is chasing people down to remove unnecessary hard surface that they put in illegally. Here, we're able to design this, and thankfully, we were able to get to this stage of approval because you granted us the zoning relief. So I think we're gonna end up with four house lots anyway. And as Jen has stated now, we can design the driveways in a pervious manner and then use rain garden, something we would have to set aside if we were actually putting any true public roadway. So I think it really is it's a benefit to the development, to the neighbors, and I think it's a benefit to the community, and it's consistent with your comp plan.
And I would just like to clarify that lots 1 and 2 have standard asphalt driveways, and their rain gardens are designed to treat their driveways as well as their roof runoff. For the lots that are in the back with the longer driveways, those are the ones that we're proposing, some sort of permeable pavement, whether it's a pavement or a paver. And then the rain gardens on those back 2 lots are designed to treat the roof runoff for those lots.
We have nothing further.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here who'd like to be heard on this portion of the application? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Lima, do we have anyone online?
There is no public comment.
No public comment. Okay, I'll accept a motion that we close public comment on the master preliminary plan portion. Commissioner Matus moves, seconded by Commissioner Lanfear. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We have closed the public comment period. Okay, let's just move to the staff conclusions.
Read it again. I did read the recommendation before, but I did, I mean, if I can add something, I have crossed out the MLCs, the submission of the municipal lien certificates, and as well as the submission of the water availability for conditions.
If I may, can we, what was lot 6 addressed, the open space lot? Jason and Brianna, you guys, I haven't seen, this isn't my call. I haven't seen the city accept an open space lot since I've been here, which is now 16 years. I mean, normally it's done through a conservation easement, through a homeowner, HOA, and the standard condition is the applicant drafts it and it's approved by either the planning department or legal prior to recording of a final plan, but that's not my call to do. Sandy, would you be adverse to that?
No.
Rather than the city getting deeded a lot underneath a power line, et cetera, I see a lot of issues there.
Director Pizzolo, did
So
you?
through the chair, Sandy, I don't recall us ever discussing this specifically. Is this going to be a condo association or a homeowners association?
Well, I think if we were going to retain ownership, then we would put a conservation on, and we'd have an association just to make sure that it stays in its natural condition, but
Yeah, like just a HOA.
very simple HOA.
That's preferable. So if it's going to be an HOA, then there'll be we'll get a draft of that at final plan and we'll work out those details, but it will not become a public lot.
No.
Okay.
Should that be included in the?
Yeah, as a
conditions of-
condition of approval prior to final, you can put review by the planning department or the city solicitor's office prior to recording final plan. Because now it's administrative anyway, so.
Okay. Okay, motion. Absolutely.
As is related to the drainage, I do like to hear that the HOA is being considered. The permeable pavement, as I'm sure you're aware, Jenna, if it's not maintained, it becomes impermeable pretty quickly. A single family house to vacuum out a permeable driveway of that size would be quite expensive, especially at the annual requirement that would probably be put on it. So would that be something that the HOA would now be responsible for, to vacuum out those permeable driveways?
So what we are proposing is it's permeable pavers or driveways, so it's not going to be that kind of that heavy duty permeable pavement that you have to like really vacuum out. It's, so I guess, yeah, we could put it in part of the HOA, but it's not really something that has to be maintained because it's just pavers per se. We do have a detail on the site plan as well of those items.
So there's no operation and maintenance plan for permeable pavers?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, that would be in contrast of other operation and maintenance plans that I've seen in the past. But if that's what the DEM is telling you, that's certainly what the city's gonna want to enforce. So if they're telling you don't have to vacuum it out, that would be quite surprising to me, but I will
can
rely on their stormwater management report.
I can also confirm in our stormwater operation and maintenance as well for the site. You're welcome. But we plan to comply with DEM's regulations for it.
Thank you. Call for a motion. Commissioner Matus.
Make a motion to approve as is noted with the conditions from the planning staff.
A motion to approve with the conditions. Seconded. Oh, do you want to talk? Okay, you have the floor.
I think our solicitor wanted us to add to the conditions of approval, the creation of an HOA
And a conservation, associated conservation easement for lot 6
to be reviewed.
to be reviewed by
approved by
either the planning or the
director
solicitor prior to recording
and
final.
solicitor
Yep,
Prior to
and-
final plan approval.
Thank you,
Do
Commissioner.
we have that language on the record? Okay, with that language on the record, yes. Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a seconded by Commissioner Lanfear? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, the next item is just an informational meeting. No votes will be taken on this, but it is a pre-application for 12 Walter Street, major land development project.
This is 12 Walter Street, the owner and application Walter Street Realty LLC. Assessors Plat 6-4, Lot 1250. The zone is M2, General Industry. The future land use is industrial, and the proposal is the construction of 4 commercial self-storage buildings totaling 1,025,100 square feet with an associated parking lot and landscaping. You can take it away if you would like.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Benjamin Cato. I'm a registered professional engineer with Millstone LLC. On behalf of the applicant here for pre-application. This property, if you're familiar with it, is, I guess the easiest way to describe it is at the bottom of the screen is Twin Oaks. So you're looking at the site next door to Twin Oaks, which is AP 6/4, lot 1250, just over 6 acres. Zoned M2 as mentioned. Its existing condition is overgrown, being cleaned up in general as we speak. but it's been various uses over time for industrial or manufacturing. I think most recently it was storage of dumpsters for a dumpster company, a refuse company, most recently. It's mostly impervious. It's got pavement buildings and gravel parking and loading areas all throughout the site. And the proposed development, as mentioned, is self-storage. We met informally with staff, and Mr. Mazzullo recommended we go through major land development here. So we're here for that process, knowing that we'll be back before the board at various stages of approvals down the road. We're showing 3 buildings up front. One would have an office in it and parking for any users. And then we show 1 building in the back. That building is actually on a lower plane. The land slopes on this screen from high point on the right to low point on the left. We're thinking of a phased approach here, with that lower building being a second phase and the 3 buildings up front first. And we're here today. There's in your packets and on the screen, there's some renderings of what they would look like from elevation. They're range from 1 to 2 stories. They are depressed from the roadway, so they won't look as imposing from the street. They're down 4 to 5 feet from the road in the front, and then it drops significantly to the back. And we're here for just general comment from the board to get some feedback and move forward with our application.
This was the old Ralph Schuster scrap metal building, and I think it was Monahan Trucking before that. I grew up across the highway from there, so I'm familiar with it. Okay, Commissioner Pizzullo.
So through the chair, have you gotten clarity on the right-of-way issue to access the rear of the property?
The applicants have engaged a title attorney to do the research. We have some preliminary findings, and we will absolutely present that at the next stage of application.
Okay, if that right-of-way is indeed owned by Twin Oaks, do you have an additional idea how you're going to access the rear for the commercial flex?
At this, yes, but I'm gonna reserve comment until we have legal representation to talk about that at the next stages. But I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Okay.
So there's some question as to ownership of the road that runs on this screen. It's the road that runs in the top left corner. Whether Twin Oaks owns it, they currently use it for parking. There's a gate across it. There's some question as to whether or not they do own it or the city maintains the right of way, maintains ownership of the right of way. So we will be fully prepared to address that from back and forth. I'm not trying to be coy. I'm not an attorney. I don't want to step on any toes.
Mr. Chair, this will be coming to us for major land development based on its size. So it's major land development, and this is not something that there's no more parallel tracks where you do DPR and major land development at the same time. Development plan review will be technical review for us. We'll do a lot of the technical review on this if this moves forward, but it will be this commission who approves it, not the DPR.
It's certainly a higher view of the use of the land than it has been for a long time. What is the zone? Is there a zone change necessary for this?
It's an M2 zone.
Oh,
So another zone.
okay. All right. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Anyone here who'd like to be heard on this matter? Okay, Mr. Lima, anyone online who'd like to be heard on this matter?
There is no public comment.
Okay, no public comment, okay. Well, we don't, not take a vote on it, so thank you for bringing it and look forward to seeing it when it's when you get to master plan.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Wrong button. Next, right-of-way abandonment petition. Terminus of Elmhurst Avenue adjacent to 83 Elmhurst Avenue. Applicant Brian D. White.
And so being almost, make this work. So this is a request to abandon a 130-foot by 50-foot segment of a paper street, resulting in 65,000 square feet of land area adjacent to a recently approved residential development. So I've highlighted the area of the street abandonment that's proposed in yellow. You can see that that Elmhurst Avenue doesn't continue. This is for the basic locus, it's the triangle between Phoenix and Wayland and Atwood. The large commercial property right north of the site is the Ocean State job lot for reference. And so you can see an aerial view. Street just ends right there. There's your dead end. Over on the right-hand side is where an approved two-family dwelling has already been approved for the applicant. There are no properties that will lose access or frontage through this abandonment, and this right-of-way has a very low value for future street network improvements. From our previous our conference with Public Works, they've requested from the applicant an updated application with a few minor corrections and evidence that the abutter was not interested in the half of the abandoned property. So my recommendation for the Plan Commission is to give a positive recommendation as long as Public Works requests are satisfied.
And this would put the property back on the tax rolls also, is that true?
The city gets paid for whatever the value, assessed value is, then it goes back on the tax rolls, and ultimately, this is just a recommendation to the city council because, you know, they have to approve any alienation of city land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, questions from members of the commission? I think it's part of the area that we walked as a commission when the Chase Bank was going in, that triangle area there. Any other, no, anybody here would like to be heard on it? Mr. Murray?
Yes, very quickly, Mr. Chairman. With me this evening is Brian White, the applicant of the abandonment petition to the City Council. You may recall a while back, we were before the zoning board and the planning commission on the two-family house that Mr. White is going to be building. He lives at 145 Wayland, which is one lot in from the yellow and fronts at the corner of Wooddale and Wayland. So that lot behind is where we're going to build the two-family. This abandonment comes about because as he got into the final design, he ran into some difficulty with the Province Water Supply Board. They have some strict regulations on the design of their water lines and connections to houses, and they didn't like the jogs that would be as designed were not acceptable. So Mr. White explored the possibility of just asking the city council to abandon the road. He would then extend the water line. We're actually going to turn the house a little bit, and he'll then have a direct tie-in to the house with the water line, which would then be perpendicular to the yellow rectangle there. As Mr. Maseller just stated, typically in an abandonment, both property owners on each side acquire to the middle of the road. In this particular instance, the Ocean State job lot is well below the level of the road, the bed of the road. And we've had discussions with them. They have no interest in that half of the road. We'd still go forward even if they were interested, because it helps us. And we met with Public Works a couple of weeks ago up there, and there is a sewer main in the area of the abandonment that will be preserved with an easement. Mr. White actually was the contractor who did the new Citizens Bank on Atwood Avenue, so he's very familiar with the area and the property. So hopefully the City Council will see that this area is not really needed for highway purposes and grant the abandonment, and he be prepared to pay the nominal value that was assigned to this by the tax assessor. So we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any other questions? Mr. Lima, is anybody online to be heard?
There is no public comment.
Okay, seeing that there's no further comment in person and none online, just as chair, I'll declare that the public comment has been concluded. Okay, let's in public, let me ask, because the recommendation does reference Public Works, is Public Works satisfied with this?
Yeah, we're just looking for answers on those 3 bullets, which Attorney Murray just highlighted the 3rd one. We would obviously need something in writing from you saying that you've approached them and they're not interested, the whole 9 yards. But yes, we are perfectly happy with this recommendation, and I would concur with it.
Okay, so the motion would be accept staff recommendation. Maintaining the Public Works requests in that language. I'll accept a motion. Commissioner Matus moves approval. Commissioner Exter seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay, zoning recommendations. Frank Zincone and Urchilio's Electro Auto have filed an application to enclose a canopy addition, modifying a previously approved variance on an automobile repair facility at 173 Niantic Avenue.
Okay, so this is Assessor's Plot 7, Lot 2204. It's zoned for general industry, and the future land use map also indicates this is industrial land. They're asking for relief from front and side setback requirements to enclose 2,784 square feet of a canopy that it's existing, but it's open air, and to modify a previously approved variance on an automobile repair facility. So here's your zoning map. The property has frontage on Niantic, but also the back street, Dewey Street. Future land use industrial. Here's an aerial view of the property. It's a lot of gray, but you can return to this. This is the front view of the property, and if I may. Close that with walls. Also showed the view from Dewey Street facing south. This is the proposal with the boundary survey. I'll just note that There are no setbacks in the back. In fact, the survey does show the existing building is in the Dewey Street right-of-way. And this plot shows 6 parking spaces, and it's approved with the 6 parking spaces. So here's a detail of the floor plan. You know, it's an auto service garage, so there'll be, big doors to allow vehicles in for servicing. Front and back elevations. I find that this is an existing and appropriate location for an auto repair use. The use complies with the future land use map and the M2 zone. The primary building is a legal non-conforming structure as it encroaches on the side setbacks, front setbacks on Dewey Street and Niantic, as well as the right-of-way on Dewey Street. Zoning relief was granted on August 11th, 2021 for the construction of the 2,695 square foot roof addition, creating an open air canopy. The decision included 2 conditions, and the applicant has complied with both of them. The purpose of the proposed enclosed structure is to allow for servicing and storing vehicles out of the weather. The 9,096 square foot lot is undersized for any use in this M2 zone, which requires 60,000 square feet. The substandard lot area was part of a 1987 zoning board of review approval by the city. The proposed enclosure would not increase the nonconformity of the lot size. The proposed structure would not be detrimental or out of character with the existing aesthetic character of Dewey Street. None of the existing buildings comply with the front setbacks on either side of Dewey Street, and none of the businesses with frontage on Dewey Street use it as their primary front. This is an aerial view from Google. There's storage on Dewey Street, which is obstructed. The frontage on Dewey Street is obstructed by 2 stationary trailers and cement bins that encroach on the right-of-way. The larger trailer is mapped as a structure in the 2021 mapping of structures of Cranston. The larger trailer was not present in 2008, so it has come and has gone, but the larger trailer is documented to the south in photographs going back to 2001, and it's remained in this location for a number of years. The smaller trailer is clearly visible as far back as 2008 in aerial photography. The cement bins were placed in the Dewey Street right-of-way between the spring and the fall of 2019. According to our aerial photographs of the city, these bins contain tires and are accessible from the covered service area. And these items encroach on the setback and on the public way. And I just want to note that in our code, maintenance and commercial and industrial buildings, no garbage, rubbish, or debris shall be permitted to remain on the premises unless in a bin, dumpster, or receptacle. The site plan shows 6 off-street parking spaces, which meets the city's off-street parking requirements for industrial uses. 3 of these spaces are occupied by material storage. In this state, the property does not provide the required off-street parking, and no variance for parking has been granted or requested. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan economic development strategy of promoting small business friendly environment by assisting their expansion and by providing relief for improving non-conforming properties when qualifying criteria such as character and compatibility are met. This application meets said criteria. It's very difficult, often impossible, for commercial and industrial uses to expand on undersized lots, especially when they have more than one frontage. And in some circumstances, the expansion could have negative impacts on abutting property owners and/or land uses. But in this particular case, the enclosure of the service area could further shield abutters from the noise of auto service and replace the hanging blue tarps. Dewey Street is an industrial back road None of the existing buildings comply with the 40-foot setback on either side of Dewey Street, and none of the businesses with frontage on Dewey Street use it as their primary front. Therefore, the staff finds that the service enclosure would not be injurious to the abutting property owners or land uses. The proposed overhead door facing Dewey Street will require the removal of the trailers and materials and debris obstructing the frontage with Dewey Street. It would not be acceptable to install the new door to provide access to Dewey Street as a location for storage. For these reasons, the staff finds that the expansion would not be out of character with the area as long as all trailers, materials, and debris are removed from the Dewey Street frontage. So due to the finding that the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is consistent with the character of Niantic Avenue and Dewey Street and would not negatively impact the neighboring area, staff recommends that the City Plan Commission forward a positive recommendation on the application to the Zoning Board of Review. Should the Zoning Board of Review the variance request, the City Plan Commission respectfully requests that the Zoning Board consider the following conditions. 1, the 6 parking spaces shown on the site plan for the proposed enclosure for Ercilio's Electro Auto by Walter Skropowski, surveyor, dated July 1st, 2024, will be available for parking and not used to store materials. And 2, trailers, cement bins, and stored materials be removed from the property frontage on Dewey Street and the area cleaned up before a certificate of occupancy can be issued for the new structure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Oh, Mr. Murray, do you want to address first?
Yes, thank you. Very quickly. I represent Ercilio Tejada, the applicant who owns Ercilio's Auto Electron Service. Did a nice job with the presentation. I will respectfully take issue with the last condition suggested here. Though that condition on Dewey Street is not acceptable, but it is not from my client's doing. And to put the burden of that removal of those trailers and storage bins and material off of the public right of way that we have nothing to do with, I don't think is fair or appropriate. That stuff has been there for quite a while. He does not utilize it. He is not contributing to that. He has shown an overhead door in the plan in the event someday that is cleaned up. But I've had discussions with the Department of Inspections. They were out there as recently as last week, I believe. Carlos, the city doesn't know what to do. It's been impotent in its ability to deal with that because they don't know whose trailer it is. They don't know, where it came from. They don't know who to contact to get out of it, get it out of there, and they don't want to undertake it themselves because I think they're concerned that there might be hazardous materials in the trailer, et cetera. So I would just ask that if the board were to recommend approval on this, that the condition relating to the right-of-way not be included in your recommendation because I think it's an unfair, it'd be one thing if my client put the trailers there, we'd admit it and we'd do something about it, but those predate my client's occupancy of the building. So I wasn't involved in the 2021 zoning. My colleague, John DeBona, handled that. He's no longer practicing, so I was asked to assist Mr. Tejada, who has English is not his first language. I will have a translator here next week, but it is intended just to enclose this canopy. It is not going to be heated. It's not going to be it's not like it's gonna be a permanent addition to the building. He just wanted, you know, for the, to give his workers a little more comfort. He just wants to enclose the sides. But it's not intended to be a permanent, year-round, heated, facility. Be happy to answer any questions.
Just a quick one, Mr. Murray. I wasn't aware until you mentioned it that the trailers encroaching on the right of way were not property of the applicant. But in raising the concern of possibly hazardous waste or something, to your knowledge, has FEMA or DEM been contacted about these?
I have no knowledge of hazardous material there. I'm just repeating what Carlos and the inspection department said to me last week. I don't know what exploration the city's done regarding the contents of the trailers, but he mentioned it to me. I don't have personal knowledge of, nor does my client.
Okay. Commissioner Frias.
Mr. Murray, so I can understand this. Your client doesn't own that material, right?
No.
Okay. Is that material on his property?
No.
Okay. Is the material therefore like it's right in front of his property? Is that what this is?
Well, this would be the rear. You can see Niantic, we're fronting on Niantic.
Yeah.
The bottom picture, the top picture is the front of the building. The back that Beth has there is the trailers and boxes that are to the rear on Dewey Street, and they're clearly within the right of way. They're up against, and my client doesn't own the property. He hopes to acquire it. He's not going to invest putting this canopy. He has a gentleman's agreement with the owner to buy the property if we can get him the funding. But the trailers on that bottom picture there are in the city right of way and have been for many years.
Okay, so the trailer, so that's what I was trying to understand. So the right of way where the trailers are located, it's not on property that is owned by the applicant or the applicant wants to own. It's actually on property owned by the city.
Yes.
And it's just sitting there for years, right?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe at one point, maybe, well, not defending it, but I mean, not defending, that's not the, the reality is, this is kind of like an isolated part of, Niantic Avenue's behind, the building on the right-hand side of the screen, on the easterly side, on the southerly side. That, I'm not even sure that has frontage on Dewey, so it's kind of like there's no man's land there behind this building, and somebody plopped these trailers down there, and I honestly don't know whether people go there occasionally and take things out or put things in,
So people just dump stuff on this area and nobody kind of
Right.
asks questions about it,
right,
huh?
and the city has, at least state, not taking an aggressive, because they can't identify the owners. I think they're just letting the status quo remain, and,
Is it an issue by the way of cost? That's the other thing too, like somebody has to pay to remove this thing.
Well, yeah, so that would be, Public Works. So normally, if the city has to remove something, whether it's through a third-party vendor, if they don't have the ability to do it,
Yeah.
normally it's, we would contract that out, and then you lien the landowner, but in this case, there is no landowner because the property is essentially on our right of way.
Okay,
I don't know, I'll have to.
so we don't, like that's what I was gonna say, the landlord is actually us, the city.
Well,
And
I mean, it's on a right of way.
It's on a right of
It's
way.
on the right of way.
and we don't know who dumped it.
Could the police tow it? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking of if things are on the street, could they ticket it? and then tow it, probably. But that's not for this board,
No,
really.
no, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking your questions about ownership, responsibility. It's up to it sounds like to me, it's actually up to the city to tow away this mystery, whatever contents are in this mystery trailer. Does anybody even open? I mean, like, I'm just wondering what is in there after all
I
these
think
years.
right now, the status quo is more acceptable than to incur in the cost of towing it somewhere or hauling it somewhere. And then you've now, whether they put it at the highway garage or put it somewhere, now it's gonna sit there for the next 15 years because, they're afraid to open it up to see exactly what's in it, so if you don't see it, it doesn't bother you.
The mystery will continue as to what is in this trailer.
Okay, any other questions, from members of the commission? And any other questions or comments from anyone here? Seeing none. Mr. Lima, is anybody online on this issue?
There is no public comment.
Okay, then as chair, I will note that there is no public comment online or present. No additional. Well, in that case, why don't we bring it back to the recommendations? So obviously the second condition, given what we've just learned, isn't really applicable. Yes, Commissioner Matus.
Question for the applicant. The two bins that are filled with tires, are those being used by the property owner? Well, that will answer that.
Okay, do I have a motion? Yeah, this would be a motion for a positive recommendation to the zoning board of review. But only with the first item that the plan commission respectfully request the zoning board consider. Commissioner Frias moves, Commissioner Zadella seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Oh, I just want to clarify,
Yes,
only doing the first.
the first one, yes.
There's two ones. I'm going with number one of the
Yeah.
ones.
The second number one would be deleted.
Yes, the second number one, I'm not making a motion on.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Okay, Eileen Boz and Anthony Ramos have applied to the board for permission to construct two additions encroaching into a required side and rear setback on a single-family dwelling at 23 Longview Drive.
So again, the subject property is located at 23 Longview Drive. Assessors Plat 16, Lot 910. The request is to allow relief from side and rear setbacks on the existing single-family house to include side setback encroachments for the expansion of the existing master bedroom, for the construction of a master bath and rear deck to the eastern portion of the site, as well as rear encroachments from the existing rear porch and the new proposed construction of a side deck to the western portion of the site. Here is a zoning map, which shows that the subject property is located in an A8 zone. Here is the future land use map, which designates the property as single-family residential, 7.26 to 3.64 units per acre. Here is the aerial view to show the overall neighborhood. Street view. Rear and side view. Site plan. First floor proposal. Elevations. For findings and analysis, the parcel hosts one existing structure, a single-family house. This is an appropriate location for the existing use. The proposed addition to the eastern rear of the site encroaches roughly 1.5 feet into the 10-foot required setback, and the new proposed deck to the western portion of the site encroaches into the 20-foot rear setback by 3.4 feet. Staff has reviewed this application in consideration of the compatibility with the general character of the surrounding neighborhood, and the request does not impose undue nuisances and is not out of character beyond any other uses on the site or within the surrounding neighborhood due to the overall prevalence of double-car garages in the neighborhood. The property and the surrounding area are residential and does not propose nor encourage incompatible uses that would be disruptive to the surrounding area. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, single-family residential. The density of the lot is not proposed to change. The proposed further construction and expansion of existing use is consistent with the future land use map, as it designates the property again, a single-family residential 7.26 to 3.64 units per acre. Per the comprehensive plan, the A8 single-family dwellings on lots minimum areas of 8,000 square feet is an appropriate zoning classification for single-family residential land designation and development. Staff finds the application is not inconsistent with the future land use map designation due to the fact that density is again not proposed to change. The comprehensive plan outlines goals, policies, and action items pertaining to commercial redevelopment, which staff finds support the approval of this application specifically. Land use goal 2, permit a variety of residential development types to achieve multiple community objectives. Policy 2.2, enact flexible development standards that attain desired community objectives, but also provide a wide range of building types, uses, subdivisions, and site plans. And then second, land use goal 9, protect and stabilize existing residential neighborhoods. And policy 9.3, preserve the existing density of established neighborhoods. With that being said, pursuant to Rhode Island general law as well as local zoning ordinances, staff finds this application is generally consistent with goals and purposes of the comprehensive plan and is compatible with the general character of the surrounding neighborhood. Staff therefore recommends that the City Plan Commission adopt the presented findings of fact and forward a positive recommendation on the application to the Zoning Board of Review.
Okay, questions, members of the commission? There's no one else here to comment, but let me ask if there is anyone online who is waiting.
There is no public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing none, the chair, for the record, declares that public comment is closed. Any discussion? Okay, I'll accept a motion. Commissioner Zadelis. Motion made by Commissioner Zadelis, seconded by Commissioner Matus. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay. Mr. Pizzolo.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good news. City Council gave final adoption to our new city comprehensive plan last night, and a meeting that took 15 minutes. So that's our plan now. There were a few little amendments that we had to carry over from the existing plan, but nothing all that exciting. So next month for the November meeting, we are going to be presenting the amendments for subdivision and land development regulations. Most of these are required by the 2024 state legislation, so we'll be putting those before you, probably with a redlined version. I know last year we couldn't really do that, but we can now. And again, most of those are not discretionary. So that's what we'll be starting with. And then depending on how far we get with zoning, zoning is a little bit deeper dive. There's quite a few sections that we are going to be trying to tackle. Also, there's, the deeper you go in the rabbit hole, there's more things you find that you want to fix because that's just our 50-plus-year-old zoning code. So we'll be working on that over the next couple months at least. So we figure we can get these done by January. I'm hoping.
Yep, and obviously subdivision regs just go to you guys can change them, but the zoning, they gotta advertise and
Right.
we gotta go to the council and the whole 9 yards.
So beyond that, I don't have anything else, but thank you, and we'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Commissioner Matus, seconded by Commissioner Mancini. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.